welcome. How important, given language, there seems to be a bit of a barrier, how important is it for our younger generation, and particularly the demographic in Indonesia, which has a younger demographic, how important is it for Australians here to learn Indonesian as a language, particularly in our schools? Sadly, our schools don't seem to have Indonesian as a language to learn. How important is that going to be to our future?
Before I respond to that, I'd just like to first express my admiration, my respect to Pak Garet. For 25 years ago, with our former foreign ministers, who established such good understanding, establishing this, what you call ballast kind of relationship, which I think needs to be reactivated now, today. And I'm here to hopefully to start doing this new spirit of, closer cooperation. How important that is? It is just as important as I think you learn English. I don't understand why, if the next government comes, I would like to advise that the government would adopt English as our second language. I think it's important for our future generation, for education. And knowing Indonesia, I think it helps. It helps, especially if we want to increase our closer relations, we want to increase our trade. I think knowing Indonesian language would help. And from what people tell me, Indonesian language is one of the easiest language to learn. So it wouldn't hurt, I think.
Can I just add to that? I mean, for any language to be taught as badly as it's likely to be taught in the Australian context in the foreseeable future is not in itself going to help a lot in generating a new generation of people with real linguistic competence. But the crucial thing about language teaching in schools is the cultural teaching that goes with it. The beginnings of an understanding what it's like to approach things in a different way, different conceptual framework. The language is just so crucial for that. And even the lousiest language teacher can communicate a lot of the necessary cultural things about the environment that goes with it. And it's that's missing more than anything else from the average Australian kid's education experience at the moment. And that's what I weep most about, and why I'd love to see more language teaching, and dressed up as language teaching, because even if they only come away with 150 words or phrases, I mean, that's a huge entree point, along with all the rest of the stuff that comes with any kind of decent exposure to this school day. So I hope we do a hell of a lot more of it for that reason alone.
Jenny, you may want to touch on the program in a moment. More questions? Sorry, thank you. Sorry, just as you pick up the phone, the mic, I guess the other issue is, hence the reason we're looking to start this, what is being called the New Colombo Plan, which is sending the list to shorthand for something that means engagement.
I'm Patrick Christian from General Motors Holden. I guess my bit of my comments, my questions for Pak Suryo, more about how's the communications about the talent development in Indonesia. One way for the Australian business to invest in Indonesia is not going to be, one of the criteria is about the talents. My understanding, I'm an Indonesian, I was educated overseas. There's a lot of Indonesians who went overseas to do their educations and already came back to Indonesia. The quality of the education has been improving a lot in Indonesia the last 10, 20 years. How's that communication comes to? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Australians' perspective of Indonesian education and talent is always different. It's lower than what the Australian standard is. And coming from the Big Four, accounting firms, I believe in Indonesia there are more secondments to the United States than going to Australia, even though it's only a neighbor country. So I guess part of this is what is the Indonesians do to promote and to inform the Australians better about the quality of the educations, and especially the younger generations. The English is getting much better than compared to 10, 15 years ago.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
Yes. Well, I think if you look at Indonesia's education system are. Admittedly, we have to say there's been a lot of progress. There's a lot of good schools now that teaches in English. But being a big country with so many foreign direct investments coming into Indonesia, we just don't have enough, well-educated, good people, good trained people that can be absorbed, by all these foreign companies that need good trained people. Now, the other problem is, unlike many Chinese students, Indian students that studies overseas, once they graduated, they would stay there and get training in a job. Indonesians tend to go, they want to go back home. They get homesick. This is the problem. We want them to stay actually, once they, finish with their education, but most of them, they like to go home to their, their warm environment, the good food, and this is the problem. So the good trained people are usually trained by the multinational companies that have established their office in Indonesia. Our best bankers, for instance, they're all graduate of Citibank. And our engineers in the past used to be graduates of IBM. And our good marketing people used to be graduates from working with Unilever, for instance. So, that's the situation.
Thanks, Suryo. Can I ask one more question?
Suryo, thank you for coming to Melbourne. My name is Sulisto from RMIT University. I'm just following on the question on education. Having lived in Indonesia for many years and going there for many, many times, it strikes me that all these reports from McKinsey, for example, saying that Indonesia will be the 7th largest economy by 2030, and many other reports. My experience tells me that to achieve all that, we need to get an Indonesian population and Indonesian economy in the global sense. And to be truly global, I still think Indonesia has got a long, long way to go. Simply because, yes, you've got a huge population, you've got a huge consumer-driven economy, you've got a lot of resources. And as you also earlier mentioned, Indonesians are shy, introverted, and at times have a malu culture perhaps, where they will be scared to talk in English. If you really want to be the largest, but we are the largest economy in ASEAN, but to be a truly global economy, the education system as I see it now, and the global quality and standards is still lacking a long, long way. To be truly global, I think the country needs to bring the global universities to come in, and as you said, teach in Indonesia, to work with the Indonesians over there. Sending Indonesians overseas is set for not doing, partly because it's going to be expensive. Malaysia's done it, Singapore's done it.
So your question, please.
Yeah, my question is, what can you, KADIN, do to help in this regard to bring global education into Indonesia?
KADIN recognized the need for improving not only our education system but our healthcare system as well. Because now a lot of Indonesians would go overseas to get their health services. So the problem is we're still restricting foreign doctors to practice in Indonesia. We're still restricting, a lot of professors teaching into Indonesia, and also we're not recommending. Well, there's still some restrictions for foreign universities to establish in Indonesia, and KADIN is, promoting that we open up on these two fronts, education as well as health. Because I agree with you that only if we increase the quality of our educations, then we cannot be a very competitive nation.
That's right. And at this point, may I thank the panel for that very interactive session, and to you as an audience for participating as well. Unfortunately, time is time, and